In the early 2000s, you marveled at the excellence that was Roush Racing. They were by far the best team the NASCAR Cup Series had to offer. All 5 of their full-time drivers ended up making that season's chase for the Cup, which was only 10 drivers at the time. The star-studded team included Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and the defending champion Kurt Busch. It looked as if nothing could stop this team for years to come, until at their peak, they decided to make a drastic decision. With a look towards the future and wanting to prepare their prospects that they have in their pipeline, they decided to open a 6 Cup team. The initiative was to get whoever was driving this car ready to replace eventual retiree Mark Martin. If anyone could pull this off, it was definitely Roush Racing, right? Well, even in their heyday, they had some failures. What followed after was one of the worst performances a Roush Racing team has ever had. This is a reminder that even the biggest teams can sometimes fall flat on their face. The infamous 6 team started out with only one driver in mind. Todd Cleaver was viewed as the future of Roush Racing. He won the team's prospect show, Racer X, back in the early 2000s, and soon after made a name for himself in the Truck Series. But even up to his first Cup Series start, he was known mostly as the guy who had that horrendous flip in ARCA. This took place way back in early 2005, before he began racing in the Truck Series full time, but it seemed to carry over everywhere he went. He was largely inconsistent, but with a veteran crew chief like Frankie Stoddard, who had won multiple races with Jeff Burton, Roush was about to see if Todd Cleaver had what it took to take over the 6 full-time the following season. Unfortunately, the first 2 races of his career didn't help his case.
Well, the commitment cone that you have to go inside of, well,
it's not there.
He's not there anymore.
And that's because Todd Cleaver, making his Nextel Cup Series debut, got it. And that will be a penalty. That'll be a drive-through penalty under green. So they work on Cleaver's car. Look back in the field.
Cleaver and
40 car David Stremme.
Stremme in trouble. Todd Cleaver had a little damage there as well. Yeah, bottom of the body just pushed up the racetrack into those guys. Kind of set things off.
Finishes of 41st and 43rd at both Chicagoland and Michigan became the new norm, and it was looking as if Todd Cleaver's for sure 6 Cup ride was put on hold. In an effort to salvage what was left of this team and to see what other prospects he had at his disposal, Jack Roush gave the young up-and-comer David Ragan a shot. He was in the team's pipeline for quite some time and had appeared on the show Racer X. He was viewed as an apprentice to Mark Martin in a sense. Even though there was some hope, there were also a ton of questions pertaining to his Cup debut. Up to this point, he had minimal Truck Series success as well as minimal Busch Series experience. The result was one of the worst Cup Series debuts in history.
Oh, trouble! Turn 4 once again.
David Ragan in the 06. Caution number 3.
Yeah, he looks like he got run into also.
That might be Kenny Schrader. I don't know. Don't know exactly who that was behind him.
It was Schrader.
Was it?
It sure looked like it. We might be able to find out, BP.
Here's a shot from Schrader's roof.
Okay. It in fact was Schrader.
Little Debbie got him.
Wasn't. So they said the cup won't crash, Bill.
David Ragan brought out the caution for the 2nd time by himself. And our 4th caution of the race. He was involved in an earlier spin.
Well, I believe David Ragan is that all.
Killed the right front.
Yes, you did, David. Said he killed the right front.
Just got loose, guys, and
What the heck?
In the straightaway. I think he's going to get all the experience he's going to get. He's had all the experience he's going to get at Dover today.
How somebody gets loose on the straightaway, I will never know, but the one thing I do know about this story thus far is that the 6th ride remains wide open. Todd Cleaver has one final chance to assert himself as the #1 guy for the job. In what would be the final 2 Cup Series starts of his career, it was now or never. But in the end, it just wasn't enough.
And look what happened. Todd Cleaver is around.
Well, Schrader. Oh,
we got hit just now.
I thought he was going to miss him. I said, man, Schrader's going to do a great job going to the outside. And guess what? That car showed up at the same spot he was immediately.
Cleaver just gets a little bit loose. Biffle was right on his bumper. Took a little bit of air off it. Schrader wasn't sure which way he wanted to go, and he picked the wrong way.
And did he get Michael?
Yes, Michael Walter goes up in the outside retaining wall. Trying to figure out how Kyle Petty got it. Saw him go by with smoking.
I think Schrader was going down to the bottom, and he thought the 6 car was going to keep going down to the bottom.
A 32nd at Kansas and a final DNF at Charlotte officially did him in. Todd Cleaver was now out of contention for the 6th ride. In less than a week, it was made official. David Ragan would be the next guy up to replace Mark Martin. The problem is, after that decision was announced, he followed that up with one of the worst performances ever seen at Martinsville.
There at Roush Racing, a lot of changes are coming, Doug. One of those, of course, Mark Martin stepping out, and now we understand David Ragan is going to drive that car next year, the AAA Ford. Well, David got off to a rough start at Martinsville last week in the truck race on Saturday and the Nextel Cup race on Sunday afternoon. We knew it was going to be tough filling the shoes of Mark Martin, but is David going to make it?
It was 96. He may have got that tire cut down with contact with the 06 car.
David Ragan gets in the left rear and cuts the tire down. You're right, Wally.
Benny, what did you say about how well Ken Schrader's day was going?
Oh, I shouldn't have ever said anything, and he is hot. Yeah. He is hot.
This happened just a moment ago.
Now, Schrader's had 700 starts. Is he going to throw? No, he's not going to throw his helmet.
All right, if you go down straight away, going to turn 1, the 06 runs into the back of him as you're turning into the corner. You don't really want to do that because you'll crash a guy if you hit him like that.
And then you might get another guy, too.
And then you'll get a few other people involved in the wreck. And Kenny was running, you know, this is the bad part about it. You know, Ragan is 3 laps down. Kenny Schrader is running in the top 10. You just took out a guy in the top 10.
That had been going on for a while, hadn't it, Kenny? You and Ragan.
I moved him earlier. I moved him at Dover, and I moved him. I didn't wreck him. And, you know, you'll have that when you're a couple laps down and racing with the guys that aren't. You'll get that if you stay up there in the middle of it and race it, but he just paid me back. No problem. The rest of the places are pretty fast this year.
you grabbed a pipe, and I can't tell whether you missed him or didn't see him go by.
No. I'm not going to get fined over this deal. It's already been a bad enough day.
Yeah. And obviously, they had a very good run going today, and a lot of frustration down here with the 21 team, and rightfully so, Wally.
This started out as 3 abreast going down the straightaway with Ragan, Stewart, and somebody else, and I just kept watching going, okay.
Cut tire, left rear.
Here it comes. Well, yeah, here we go. 3 abreast. Stewart gets by Ragan. The 4-car Ward's on the outside. He slows. The 06 slows down. The 19 gets underneath them. Tries to get underneath them. That's how it all started. It's just a mess.
Elliott Sadler. Well, 3 wide here is never good.
No.
David Ragan is getting an education in short track racing at Martinsville today. He's on board with Harvick.
He goes down the corner, and there's a contact between Sadler and 19.
Go high, stay in the gas. Caution down.
Uh-oh, we got trouble. Oh, Kyle Busch in the wall, a 5-car. Oh, man, he was right about 10th position.
You'd think Ragan would be dizzy by now.
Oh, that's harsh. Kyle Busch 10th in the chase standings.
And if that performance wasn't enough, NASCAR themselves stepped in and forced the 06 team to withdraw from the following week's race at Atlanta. They had enough with his mess at Martinsville and were straight up just like, no, you're not racing this week. The end result of this whole deal was Ragan ended up going to Cup, replacing Mark Martin, winning Rookie of the Year, and ended up having a solid career. On the other hand, Todd Cleaver never recovered and never raced in the Cup Series again. The end results of the infamous 6 team are this. 6 starts, 4 DNQs, an average finish of 37th, and 3 DNFs. The team disbanded after the 2006 season and never ran again. With the 4-car limit rule we currently have in place, I'm sure it'll be quite a while before we see anything like this again. And once again, that'll do it for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.